Hi everybody, this is Jack Benedict and welcome to another edition of In the Nest presented by the Student Co-op at IUP and the Co-op Store. We're going to talk with head coach Paul Tortorella of the Crimson Hawks, and we're going to talk about signees for this year for IUP football that will be coming up in the fall. Coach, welcome aboard. Glad to have you with us again.
Good to be here again.
Yeah, here we go with another year. 18 signees, Coach, and kind of balanced out, didn't it? 8 offense, 8 defense, 1 specialist, 1 athlete. So as a whole, did you take a look at it? Pretty much, did you get most of the players that you wanted to?
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to get everyone, but I would say 80% of the guys that we visited, we were able to land. It worked out well position-wise. We really, the 4 areas we were concentrating on the most were offensive line, linebacker, wide receiver, and defensive back. And we got, we filled those needs, and we really worked the whole state pretty hard. About half of the kids we signed were from east of State College, and the other half were, our side from State College in Western PA, and a couple out-of-state kids because we had contacts with alums or former players. So we thought we had a pretty good class.
When you take a look at the offensive players, we'll talk about them. First of all, you always start with the quarterback, Lenny Williams. No Lenny Williams anymore. He came here from Temple, transferred in 4 great years, and all of a sudden he's gone. So tell us about, I know you have the 2 young guys coming back from last year, and you brought in a quarterback too.
Right. Logan Horn, we brought him in from Cedar Crest, and that position is such a developmental position. We were able to play Javon Davis. We redshirted Yamir Wilkerson. Everybody talks about Lenny. Well, he had a year at Temple where he was redshirting, so he even redshirted. So it's hard to get a true freshman to come in and play right away. It's more of a development, that redshirt year, and hopefully we got that from the 2 that are already in the program. And then this spring, we'll have an opportunity where they'll get a lot of the reps that obviously Lenny was getting.
With Javon Davis, you were able to use him or did utilize him in a couple of games. Now, does that blow his red shirt?
Yes, it does, because we're not tied in with the Division I rule, and we were kind of, we knew we were going to, whoever was the guy that won the job out of camp for the backup, we would use their year. And, he could still, get redshirted. So it's not like it's a lock that he's there for just 4 years. I mean, that happens a lot with quarterbacks. Some play real early and then they take a redshirt year in the middle, and then they come back for their last year or 2. So it's a different position, obviously, than all the other positions.
Yeah. All right, running backs. You started last year. You had a whole stable full of running backs. You had, I guess, maybe at least 5 at one time. You came down to about 1 because of academic problems, because of some injury problems. Tell us about Dwayne Brown. Also, Malik Anderson, I understand they're back, and the academics are fine. They're ready to go, right?
Right. If we had a game tomorrow, they'd be ready and eligible to play. I think that they've really done a really great job first semester academically, and they did a great job on our scout team. It's not easy to do when you're a guy that's playing and really has never been on a scout team, and now you got to go play on the scout team, and they did a great job. So we're excited to get them back. We obviously have Samir and Justice, and we signed Adam Hauser from Shippensburg High School, who was a great running back, great student. He really checked all the boxes for us.
We're going to talk about Hauser here in just a moment, because people would wonder, he's out of Shippensburg. How did they not get him? You got him.
Well, Coach Smith and Coach Barker did a great job recruiting him. Kid's a great kid, comes from a great family. The easy thing would have been for him to just go to Shippensburg. And like I talked with a couple people yesterday, they probably would have had a parade today for him, because this guy's been doing it at that high school for 4 years now, and Shippensburg's not a huge town. So there was a lot of pressure on him to go to Shippensburg, and he didn't let anybody sway him one way or the other, and he wanted to come here. He knows we run the ball a good bit, and his statement to us was, I want to go somewhere where we can win championships, and I think this is the best place for that.
All right, we're going to take a break, and we're going to come back. We'll talk more with Coach Paul Tortorella, defensive side, transfers, all those things coming up. You're watching In the Nest, presented by the Student Co-op at IUP and the Co-op Store. Remember, you can find us on our websites, too. We'll be back after this for the Co-op Store.
To the Co-op Store to get all your IUP apparel. Get your hawk on.
And welcome back. This is Jack Benedict with Coach Paul Tortorella. We're talking IUP Crimson Hawks football in the Nest, presented by the Student Co-op at IUP and the Co-op Store. Well, we touched upon some of the offensive players. Actually, you've got some other guys coming along. You've got a kicker from Latrobe that's coming in, and you're going to need a kicker eventually because you're losing some people. Tell us about Nate Clare and how he could help you in the future.
Well, you know, the good thing about him is he does everything. He punts, he kicks off, he kicks field goals. It's like any other position. You know, when you get older guys at that position, you need to start recycling. And, you know, we lost the kickoff guy in bowling, the punter in Ruiz, so we needed to get a specialist. And, you know, we knew more about him because he's local and we had a chance to see him. And, you know, so it was, we basically knew more about him than anybody else, and we thought he would fit what we were looking for.
Okay, wide receivers, you know, that's changed because of certain things. People come in, you're losing people. How about a couple of the young guys that you're bringing into the wide receiver spot?
Well, it's the same thing there. We'll have 3 starters next year that are going to be seniors, so we got a lot of size. We brought in a 6'3" wideout from Philadelphia, Luke Hardy. 6'4" kid from Philadelphia, the Macon kid, and then we've got a kid from Manheim Township. He's about 6'2", 190 pounds. So we went into knowing that we needed to get wideouts, and we were able to get 3 of them. And you know, it's kind of any more wideouts. They're either real big or they're little and they can fly and they're quick. So we've got a bunch of the little quick guys. We've got JoJo, who's a big guy. So, you know, it just happened that the 3 that we ended up signing were bigger guys. The Ridley kid from Manheim, 6'2", and then the other 2 are 6'3" and 6'4".
Yeah, that fade pass, everybody's looking for that these days. Yeah, you know. Let's go on the defensive side of things. Last year, you needed to replace, so we had some young guys who were on the interior defensive line. You had the great ends, of course.
Right.
Tell us about some of the guys that you brought in on the defensive side.
Well, you know, last year we signed 3 or 4 defensive linemen, so we really weren't, you know, sign a lot of those guys. We got Tyler Mangon from North Allegheny, who's a very productive defensive lineman who will really help us. Great student, comes from a great program. And then we attacked the linebacker position because that's another recycle position. You know, Lloyd and Amendola are both seniors, 3 and 4 year starters. So we went and kind of reincarnated it by getting Lloyd's brother and the D'Annunzio Biss linebacker from Kiski area. So we kind of filled it right in with what we've had before, and those 2 have been really productive, the 2 guys in our program, and we think we can get the same thing eventually out of the 2 guys that we signed.
That was an area you really had to build up some depth, huh?
Absolutely. When you know, anytime you're at a position where you're going to be starting seniors, you better be ready to recruit a guy a year ahead of time. And you know, they may come in and play. They probably will come in and play on special teams right away. And I could definitely see both of those guys having a chance to give us some depth and help us there.
Defensively, D-backs. Tell us about that. Understand that Mikhail Makel is back.
Right.
And tell us what you have there. I know you have a couple of prospects, and we do have some people coming back, but you need to be solid back there.
Well, yeah, we for 5 positions, we only had 6 or 7 guys in the whole program. So we had to sign some young defensive backs, which we did. We signed a corner, Lang, out of Philadelphia. He's a true corner. A true safety from down in Washington, D.C., Lou Choice, former player, coached him and coached his dad at Woodrow Wilson down there in D.C. The dad played 2 or 3 years in the NFL, played at Temple. He was a receiver. Zion Cobb's a safety that really plays safety. You know, sometimes you move guys around from what they did in high school, and you got to kind of project and put them in positions that fit your defense. This guy played safety just like they did the same things that we do, so it won't be a big transition for him. He did a lot of the techniques and qualities that we look for, we've seen right on film. And then we've got the Haynes kid. The last weekend he visited from Bethlehem Liberty. He was a receiver, free safety, and a lot of his stats were at wide receiver, but he's a very good, what we call center fielder at free safety. So those were the young guys that the 3 young ones we signed yesterday.
Yeah, you mentioned Javonte Haynes. Placed 5th in the state as a junior in the long jump, over
Correct.
22 feet.
Well, he's great in the long jump, and Hardy, the receiver, is a hurdler. And he's a big-time hurdler in state. I think he took 7th maybe in one of them. Like, he's actually doing that now. They're doing indoor track. And Hardy's running hurdles indoor, and he sent me a clip, and it was pretty interesting watching a guy on your phone running hurdles. And he looked like he was running pretty good.
So you got him. Good.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to be back with more. We're going to talk more transfers and IUP football coming up, the schedule, all sorts of things. Coach Paul Tortorella with us. And we'll continue with our presentation in the Nest, presented by the Student Co-op at IUP and the Co-op Store. And we'll be back right after the Co-op Story Plus for the student and a plus for you.
To the Co-op Store to get all your IUP apparel. Get your hawk on.
And welcome back, everybody, in the Nest with Coach Paul Tortorella. It's all sponsored by the Student Co-op at IUP and the Co-op Store. This is Jack Benedict with you. We're talking about the signees, 18 signees for IUP, 8 offense, 8 defense, 1 specialist, 1 what they term athlete. This is a term that's come along in recent years, athlete. And tell us about the guy who's listed on here as your athlete this year. He's got quite an interesting background.
Leonard Robinson from Clareton. Obviously, that's one of the better schools in Western PA for football. He was in our camp this summer, and he was the best guy in the camp. He was by far, out of all the kids, he was working with the linebackers and safeties, and he was the best athlete. And so we, had him kind of plugged in already before the senior season started. And 2 weeks later, he's a lifeguard at the community pool, and there's a drive-by shooting, and he gets shot, and he's got a bullet in his back. So it took, obviously, a couple months to recover, and it took him a while. Probably didn't have as good a senior year as he did his junior year, obviously, because of the injury. But he seems to be 100% now, and we just thought so much of him when he was in our camp that, even though his senior year wasn't as good as his junior year, we were definitely going to try to sign him. And the good thing about him was, after he committed to us, there were a couple other schools still trying to get him to visit, and he held firm on his commitment, which was good to see.
Where do you play him?
Well, with football the way it is now, with open field and spread formations and having to tackle in space, he probably will transition into a linebacker, because he is close to 200 pounds and he's almost 6'3". So he's not going to get any smaller. And he's a very long-armed guy, so we'll probably end up playing him at linebacker, because we feel like he can get to about 220 real easy. So if you have a guy 6'3", 220 with long arms, and nowadays the way football is, those guys make pretty good linebackers, because they got to go sideline to sideline.
Let me go back to the offense again, and let's go up front. And fortunately, you have guys returning up there.
Sure.
A lot of them,
Right.
veterans.
Right.
But you're going to lose them, so you got to replace. Tell us about some of the recruits that you have, you're going to program in for the offensive line.
Well, the best lineman on our board was a center from Georgia, Stone Shugerts. His dad obviously played here in the early 80s and was a good defensive lineman here. So we were on him. We've seen him. He's visited a couple different times. He was here in the summer. They're originally from Du Bois. The area they play in is probably one of the best leagues in the whole state of Georgia. So it was a no-brainer, when we watched him play. He's a center. He's a really good player. He's a state wrestling champ. About 6'2", 280 pounds. His older brother was a 4-year starter as a tackle at Ohio State. Mm-hmm. So obviously between the dad and the brother, if he's even close to what they were, we're going to have a great player. And he was the best lineman on our board. So, we don't really recruit out of state, but when we have the situation where, the dad played here, obviously, same thing with Damon Lloyd's brother, Darius, from Baltimore, out of state, obviously the legacy type deal there. And the Washington, D.C. kid we took on Lou Choice's recommendation.
Sure.
So, but Shugerts is the guy that's probably farther along that could come in and maybe help right away. The two tackles are guys that their best football's down the road. They're both big, long, tall tackles. Marcus Might's 6'6". He was really a basketball player. He's only played 2 years of football, and he plays right tackle. And Elijah Boyd is the left tackle from North Allegheny. And his development is just, his potential is unlimited, really it is, because he can move like a 240-pounder, and he's 270 pounds. He's got long arms. He's one of those guys that, 3 years from now, he could be a big-time player. So we're fortunate that we have older guys in the program starting now, but again, you got to start to recycle that position.
Well, I know Mike Campolo has told me that it's hard to find a center out there.
Oh, yeah.
And Jeff Arnold has been with you for 4 years now, so Shugerts fits in perfectly, right?
Yeah, and here's the other thing. It's hard to find, it's hard to make a guard a center or a tackle a center. If you're a center, you can play anywhere on the line. So, if you could recruit two centers, you'd do it because they can play guard or tackle. Mm-hmm. Right now, our backup center is Colin McAllister, who's our starting guard.
Right.
So, if you can play center, it gives you some options. And this kid's a really good player.
All right, that gives you a little bit of an idea about the offensive line. We're going to be back more with Coach Tort as we continue on our show, In the Nest, for the Student Co-op at IUP and the Co-op Store. And we'll return with more after this for the Co-op Store, A+ for the student and A+ for you.
To the Co-op Store to get all your IUP apparel. Get your hawk on.
And we're back with you. This is Jack Benedict with Coach Paul Tortorella as we're talking about In the Nest here, the 18 signees for IUP. And of course, people are always looking, all right, who's transferring in, where they come from, what's some of the background. Right now you have, three transfers? Break it down for us. Tell us about these guys.
Well, we have the first guy we talk about would be the corner, Nazir Streeter. I keep wanting to call him by a different name, but Nazir Streeter from LIU Post. They went 1AA. He was a 2-year starter for them as a true freshman and a sophomore, all-region cornerback. He's 5'10", 180 pounds. They are looking to get bigger at that position because, taking the move to 1AA. So he was interested in moving to play somewhere else. And he's very productive. Like I said, he led the conference with 7 interceptions. And Mike Jamison, a former running back, his cousin is related to Streeter. And one thing led to another. Mike called us It didn't take us long after watching the video, because now you're watching a college player playing college games in our region, and he's very successful. As a matter of fact, I don't know if you realize this, he was on the ESPN top 10's interceptions against Shippensburg. He had an interception. It was second. It was the number 2 play of the week on ESPN. And but he's a great player. I mean, we're plugging him in right now. He's a starting boundary corner.
Yeah, I looked at his background is very impressive.
And he's a great returner also. We also brought in Mike Nash, who we recruited out of high school from Woodland Hills, that went to Youngstown State. He's been there for 3 years, so he has 1 year eligibility left for us. He'll be a safety for us this spring. And then Josh Thornton's a lineman from Lockhaven that played actually against us last year, an offensive lineman from Harrisburg. He'll have 2 years left. So we help with some depth in the offensive line, and obviously he'll be there this spring. So when you get 12 to 15 practices in the spring with these guys, it gives them a real head start to go into the fall.
Mm-hmm. Do you have some others who are, as we could put it, maybe on the bubble that you're looking at that might still come?
Yeah, because what you have now is with this transfer portal, it's like free agency. The Division I schools don't like it, but we like it. So if a guy is interested in transferring, you know about him. So you have obviously the transfers mid-year that you try to get into your school and be with you second semester. And then the second wave is after spring practice. There'll probably be more actually on the transfer portal. And we've got a couple guys that have kind of already committed to us, but we won't know until obviously after the spring. But we're looking for some help always, skill-wise and offensive line. Really, we're just trying to improve our team at any position.
Well, could there be a quarterback in there somewhere? Because your quarterbacks are all going to be young.
Well, yeah. When you look at it, it's hard. Like we said, what about Lenny? He redshirted, and we've got young quarterbacks that only been in the program 1 semester. So, obviously, if there's a guy out there that is a grad transfer that has it'd be 1 semester, it would actually probably be good for the young guys to be able to just develop more and then have 3 years left, both of them. If we redshirted Javon and played Wilkerson, if we had another guy to kind of help those young guys get through, it might be better for both of their development. So, but it's like anything. We're looking to improve our team at any time, at any position. And if we can do that, we'll do it.
For the fans that just see the games, I get to see, fortunately, a lot of practices. With your 2 quarterbacks, the young guys, Javon Davis and Amir Wilkerson, describe if there are similarities or differences.
Well, they're both pretty athletic. Amir's got a stronger arm. Sometimes it's too strong. He's got to get a little bit better at the touch pass. Javon's got great touch. His arm's strong, but his strength, he needs to get in the weight room and get bigger and stronger. They're both really good quarterback-minded guys that show leadership skills, had great careers in high school. What I mean by great careers is winning. When you talk about a quarterback, the stats and everything are great, but the bottom line is how many games did you win when you were the quarterback? And both of them, one won a state championship. The other one was in the state semifinals. So, if you're doing your job at quarterback and your team's winning, that's sometimes more important than statistics.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what we'll do when we come back. You got to do it in the classroom, too. Academics and the schedule. And what's coming up in the future here with IUP football. We'll be back with Coach Paul Tortorella. We're in the Nest, presented by Student Co-op at IUP in the Co-op store. And this is Jack Benedict, and we'll be right back.
To the Co-op store to get all your IUP apparel. Get your hawk on.
And welcome back, everybody. This is Jack Benedict with Coach Paul Tortorella in the Nest, presented by the Student Co-op at IUP and the Co-op store. We're glad to be with you talking about the signees that we just went over and transfers and all that sort of thing. But you have to do it, Coach, we know, in the classroom, academics. And you like the numbers that you've been seeing with your players.
Well, I've been here 24 years. And it's without a doubt this past fall our best semester ever since I've been here. We had 38 players that had over 3.0 grade point average. So, you have to, you're here to get a degree, and that's the number one thing. So that was impressive. This class that we're recruiting, 13 kids had over 3.0 and 12 had over 1,000 on the SAT. So, as we talk about, if you're smart in the classroom, you're usually probably pretty football smart. When you look at the New England Patriots, they're the perfect example of smart players win games, and so football's changed so much. You can't play and be successful if you don't have some type of football IQ. So when we're recruiting players, obviously talent's important, but their instincts and their knowledge of the game are also important, and then obviously doing it in the classroom.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, that's good to hear. Well, we've got spring ball coming up before you know it, and then the fall will be here before you know it. I hate to rush things, folks, but anyway, the 2019 schedule. You're going to open up with New Haven. Tell us how that came about. This is a one-year deal, right?
Right. Chris Palmer, who's the athletic director at New Haven, who was a head coach for the Cleveland Browns, and I think he's coached 18 years in the NFL. He's now their AD. He had been the head coach at New Haven way back, called looking for a game, and we were we want to play an opener, but it really has to be a home game for us, just budget wise, and it doesn't make sense for us to go out on the road the first week of the season. You're almost better off playing 10 games, but if you can play an 11th game and it's a home game, it's really good because your budget gets stretched a little bit when you play a lot of road games and overnight games.
Sure.
And he had asked me, he said, why does the PSAC not like New Haven? I said, well, we like you, but we don't ever want to go there. It's an 8-hour trip.
That is a tough trip.
In and around and through New York City, et cetera. And he started laughing, and he said, well, let's just, if that's the case, do you want to play this year? And I said, surely, yeah, we can do a one-year deal. And I said, we'll play in the afternoon so you don't get back at 3 o'clock in the morning. And so we scheduled the game for September 7th. And it was very important that we did get an 11th game this year because the way the schedule's set up, the Division II season is a week later than Division I. So we actually wouldn't be playing a game till September 14th.
Right.
But now that we have a game, we're going to play that first weekend, which is September 7th. We'll be coming to Camp Lake, I think it's as late as we've ever come, August 11th, and just because of how the Division II schedule is this year. So it was very important to get a game and then obviously to get a home game, and they're a good opponent. The problem is when you play somebody that's not very good and they're not going to have a very good record, it doesn't really help you to play them when you get to the playoff, implications. So New Haven's a great program, very well coached. I don't really know this for a fact, but I would think that in the last 15 seasons, they've probably been 500 or better almost every year. And we've had good games with them in the past.
Oh, it's been a great series.
Yes.
It's really been a great series with New Haven. That's good because that's only your 5th home game. There would have been 4 home games.
And that was another thing. You'd have had to play a 6 away game.
Sure.
And 7 away games, and we couldn't do that. So it worked out. It really did.
That's good. Well, I know, we were disappointed with 8-3. Most people say 8-3. That's a pretty good record, I know it's not IUP standards, but you have 14 starters coming back. So I know we're all looking forward to 2019 with the coaching staff you have back and everybody.
Yeah, we were obviously a little disappointed in the season, but, I think when you sit down and look at it, the Cal game on the road, we're driving to take the lead at the end of the game, and they get a pick 6. Slippery Rock game, there's 4 plays in the fourth quarter on offense, defense, and special teams. If we just make one of them, we're going to win the game. So you're not it's not a major reconstruction, so to speak. if you finish the drive going in at Cal and you make one play in the fourth quarter against Slippery Rock, you're just like you were the year before.
Sure.
But we didn't play well enough. We weren't a playoff team. We didn't deserve to make the playoffs, and we need to get back to the things that we've done in the past and get back to playing the right way and not turning the ball over, and kind of guys just concentrating on doing their job and not worrying about trying to do somebody else's job. So, and we lost a lot of good players going into this season from the year before when you lose Averett, Weldon, Turner, Redfield on defense. That's 4 right up the middle.
Yeah.
2 dime guys and 2 safeties. It's hard to back that up the next year with the same kind of play. So, and we lose a lot of guys this year that we're going to have to replace, but we feel good about it because most of our starters coming back are going to be seniors. So, and they've had a good 3-year run up to this point. Sure. So, we're excited.
We are excited. Coach, good luck to you. Thanks for your time. Appreciate it. Always good to have you with us and talk IUP football.
Appreciate it, Jack.
All right, Coach Paul Tortorella, the season will be here, spring ball will be here before you know it. That's it from here. We want to thank our fine sponsors, the Student Co-op at IUP, the Co-op Store, A+ for the student, A+ for you, and we'll see you soon with IUP football. For Coach Tortorella, this is Jack Benedict.
To the Co-op Store to get all your IUP apparel. Get your Hawk on.